Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talkable San Leandro, a series of community conversations with people who matter to San Leandro. This morning we're talking to Jeromey Shafer. Jeromey is a candidate for mayor of San Leandro. We have invited the full spectrum of mayoral candidates, and we've gotten a few responses. We hope to get the rest. So Jeromey, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Wayne.
And thank you so much for joining the race. You know, it enlivens our democratic process here in San Leandro, and such a good example for everyone. So thank you very much. You know, I always like to start just talking about the person, because all the issues, of course, are important. But you know, tell us a little bit about Jeromey. Where'd you grow up? Kind of what your situation is, and
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up in Orange County, actually the city of Orange, or the unincorporated area of Orange, so the county of Orange, Orange County, literally. And then moved to the Bay Area in the late 90s.
So how old were you?
So I was 21,
Okay. Yeah,
20 and going on 21, and was living in San Francisco for about, what was it, almost 12 years, something like that.
Wow. Whereabouts?
So I started off south of Market, and was renting there. We actually had a eviction because of the Ellis Act.
Okay.
They condoized the place.
There you go.
I was, 2 blocks from my work at the San Francisco Symphony. I started there, on the front lines and kind of worked my way up through management.
Right.
And then, so I had real nice, convenient commute, walkable. It was great. Ended up in West Oakland for a little bit because at that point the rents were getting higher. Came back into the city for a little bit. Had an office on Divisadero Street, running a little production company, and then eventually was in on Clement Street, or just off of Clement Street.
And so how long have you been in San Leandro now?
So now we've been here about 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, we.
You say we, it's your wife?
My wife and my daughter now.
Daughter. Very good.
So like a lot of families, when I think I was doing some woodworking in the back of the rental and hit my head on the stairs. We're like, I don't have room. Let's move. We got to move. And my wife was pregnant. And we were going to start a family. We're going to start. Have a place to grow and expand and really call our own. We were looking in San Francisco at the time. The prices for a 3-bedroom flat were or a 2-bedroom flat were $800,000 to $1 million. Couldn't afford that, so we moved to San Leandro. Now the prices here are about the same for a house. 800. Our house on paper is worth $1 million. So how can people afford to be here now?
So that's a good segue, I think, into. I'd like to hear your views on rent control and what you think about how Costa-Hawkins and the Proposition 10. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to dial it back a little bit to why rent control is important.
Let's do that.
I'm a homeowner. We've got our place. Actually, my wife owns another property that she has a little rental unit. So in some ways, by separation, I'm a landlord as well. But I think that we really have to come together as a community in order to solve major problems that we're going to have. We have climate change issues where we're on a fault line. We have a lot of potential for disaster or problems that we have to solve. And the best way to do that is to be strong as a community. When we're losing people, like we have now with displacement, it tears a hole in our community. That's somebody who knew their neighbors, who maybe babysat kids in the afternoon, who sent their kids to school, was on the PTA. We lose them. It rips apart the fabric of our community. So the first step, it's like climate change is the big overriding problem we all have. The first step is to stabilize, and that means for us in San Leandro, because we have no protections for renters, it means just cause for eviction, meaning you have to have a reason to be evicted, and it means limitations to the amount you can increase the rent, because otherwise the just cause doesn't make sense if you can just say, well, pay me twice as much. People can't afford that.
Right. And so and that impact, you think, impacts the homeless, the working poor. I'm just kind of going there because we do have, like every city, a significant homeless problem, growing working poor, and you think that kind of stabilization will help that situation?
Absolutely. I mean, right now we're in a situation where if you get evicted or can't afford the rent and have to leave, you have a couple choices: either to move out of the area, or to become homeless. if you want to stay in the area. Maybe there's some other options, moving in with other folks, or doubling down, doubling up your living conditions. But yeah, it does contribute to that. I mean, we have a situation with the trailer parks. The rents went up, and we have a 80-year-old resident, graduate from San Leandro High School, 60-something years ago, he's on the verge of being evicted, and he doesn't want to leave, so he's talking about sleeping in his car. Let's keep people off the streets.
It's tragic. It's difficult times is watching kind of how cities have to grapple with these problems. So we have, if you look at people's websites, candidates' websites, really across California, you can see, there's potholes and there's unsecured debt, and there are these things that crop up everywhere. These are systemic problems, I think, statewide. But the unmet liability for pension is a growing problem. 4 years ago, it was, I think, 100 million. Today, I heard 205 million. So we've had good years with regard to the stock market. But we have a growing problem. So what do you think are solutions? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, to separate out the pension debt from the other debt we have, because we've got bonds and things we're paying back to, I don't think that's necessarily productive. It's something that we didn't look forward in the future. A while back, we wanted to kind of kick the can down the road and pay more pensions instead of salary increases. We're hiring people without meeting those. Without meeting the full range of obligation, meaning that pension. So we're gradually building up that debt, right? We have other debt as well. So I think as far as CalPERS goes, which is the state level program that we buy into that establishes the retirement programs for our managers and for our non-police staff. They're actually as far as I can tell from the booklet, the pamphlet, and I'll delve in more, but as far as I can tell, they're at the lowest level. So we can get them to pay in more to what they recommend as the employer contribution. We could do that. We could ask the police to take less the money, or the police management to take less money. That's the one place where we have a program we could step down to. I'm certainly not a fan of privatizing that information, because then you put them at the whims of the stock market. But I think what we can do is really look at staffing. And so I'm a proponent, I'm a manager for over 10 years, and I've been able to do this with my staff at the San Francisco Symphony, was empower leadership at all levels. I think when your staff is disengaged because they're waiting for the department head to make the decisions, then you're not getting enough done. They are not giving the input because they know where the bureaucracy is, they know where the wasted time is. Let's get them involved in that process, and we don't have to have as much management and directorship money going out, and we can save money and put that towards the debt.
Good. Very good. I also wanted to touch on the marina as well. The groundbreaking has come and gone. We haven't broken ground, or we were supposed to break ground. I just wanted to get your ideas on the marina. Should we reconsider? I know that because of global warming threat, the water levels we had to raise the floor levels of all these buildings 30 inches. Very costly. So what do you think about the marina?
Well, I think it's nice to develop and have something that can benefit the community. I'm really in favor of that. We've got this situation with short-term rentals where we can see, the good news is people want to stay in San Leandro. So building a hotel would seem to make sense to me. I think San Leandro should have a hotel. I would say that maybe that should be BART accessible if people are coming in to get to the city. My concerns over that area are Monarch Bay Drive and William Street, especially when you put a bunch of housing up there. Are we doing the infrastructure to make sure that people can get east to west in our city? Is a really big problem. You look at the freeway that goes that way. You look at you got people going down Sybil to get to the freeway. Is William Street going to be we've done this road diet and added the bicycle lane and there, and now we're going to try to send all the cars down there with 2 schools on it. It's so you really have to look at all the impacts before you just build up. I know that we're fairly far along, but I'd like to really assess that. You know, a lot of that's going to have to be talking to the lawyer, because I know that promises have been made about what happens there. So as far as like putting a halt to it, I would say I'm not eager to get it done until I have a full understanding what it is.
And then finally, I wanted to talk just about our downtown. You know, retail across the country has just gotten hammered. You know, first it was Walmart and all the big box stores, and now there's Amazon. You know, the final nail into the retail coffin, it looks like. So anyway, you know, it's a huge you know, challenge to try to find retail that works. So, do you have any ideas about downtown? It certainly has perked up. We have some new restaurants, and things are moving in the right direction.
They are, yeah.
But anything that you're thinking about that might be innovative or?
Yeah, well, I think that we have to look at walkable cities, walkable downtown centers. We essentially have as our city center a strip mall, you know, with this Safeway and drugstore, you know, combination, McDonald's, and we tell people, meet us downtown, you know, in front of the Sizzler. Our two highways come together, and it's like our central meeting point is, you know, in front of the Sizzler. It doesn't look good. You look at the historic downtown area, and you've basically got you've got the archway, which is nice, right? The little funnel, but you've got this huge fortress with basically its butt to the downtown district. You know, we need to open that up. Now, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Those buildings are there, but that would be the idea. As far as retail, we need to move away from the chain stores. You know, people can buy stuff online if it's generic. We need community-centric places, cool cafes, restaurants that people want to go to. You know, shops that show some that have you know, special interest and you know, general interest shops that are mom and pop run, that have a unique feel to them. And I think that sort of thing will really kind of enliven the feel of downtown.
I've always thought that perhaps a pedestrian mall downtown would be a good idea, you know, from Davis maybe down to Parrott, even on the weekends, you know, where you give people a place to get away from the cars and bring their strollers and dogs, and, you know, have a place where people can really, you know, come together as a community. And I think that, restaurants are really one of the few things that Amazon can't do, we hope. Well, listen, this has been a very enlightening conversation. Thank you again for coming in and joining us. We're kind of at the end of our time here. I kind of started the clock a little late here, but thank you very much. And I want to thank our viewing guests who come in and who have taken the time out of their day to watch Talkable San Leandro. I want to give you the advice to keep on talking, do less of this, more of this. We'll all be better off. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.